Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're so glad that you could make it for our session today on Search Engine Optimization 101. This is the basics to help you rank higher in search. And whether you're tuning in from rural Alberta or in one of our cities, we're so grateful that you could squeeze time in today to join us. We're going to kick things off today, just while we let everybody join the webinar, with a quick poll. So tell us, while you're getting set up, for SEO focus areas, what aspect of SEO are you most interested in? Is it keyword research? Is it on-page optimization? Is it link building? Is it technical SEO? Is it all of the above? Or do you not know what any of those options are? If not, we're going to high level cover them today, so no stress. And we'll share the feedback with you. Thanks for that. I'd like to start us with land acknowledgement today. So BusinessLink acknowledges and respects that we are on traditional land, meeting grounds, territories, gathering places, and traveling routes of Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, and the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the lands of those who have come before us, reside here now, and in the future. So some housekeeping notes for today's webinar. Down in the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's a Q&A button, and this is your opportunity to ask us questions as we go. We really encourage you to ask questions if there's something that you don't know about, share information about a specific situation, and we'll do the best we can to address them throughout the webinar, and we may save your questions to the end as well. And then this session today is being recorded, so you'll be able to see on our YouTube channel following the webinar all the slides and hear our speaker as well. And we also have captions available, so you can turn those on in the Zoom using the CC button. And then just a housekeeping note that the chat mechanism, we can see as the hosts your comments. And if there's any comments or things that you want us to be aware of in the webinar, you can certainly use that to tell us a little bit about yourselves or comments throughout. So with that being said, I want to welcome you to Search Engine Optimization 101, the basics to help you rank higher. In this session, you're going to learn about SEO essentials like keywords, content tips, and how to get your site ranking higher in search engines. My name is Amy Thompson. I am the Director of Marketing at BusinessLink. If you're not familiar with BusinessLink, we are a nonprofit government-funded organization that offers free business advice, market research, digital marketing programs. All of our services are free. We offer market research as well. So visit our website, businesslink.ca, to learn more. And our speaker today, I would like to introduce Meghan Jobson. She's with 910 Inc., and 910 is a dedicated team of lifelong learners on a mission to help Alberta's small businesses and entrepreneurs develop their brands. They help establish online presence, become self-sufficient in activating digital marketing strategies, and learn, grow, and develop through their brand, web, print, and training services. So check out their website, visit 910.ca for more. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Meghan.
Thank you so much, Amy. I am going to quickly share my screen now as well. But I am thrilled to be here. I have really enjoyed the last year and a half of doing these webinars with BusinessLink and getting to connect with people all across the province and actually into other parts of the world as well, which is really exciting and a very unique opportunity. Today's topic is going to be on search engine optimization, but I'd just like to talk a little bit about 910 as an agency first. Our goal with just kind of anything and everything that we do is putting you as business owners, as marketers, as entrepreneurs into a position where you are fully capable to either activate your own digital marketing or position yourself in a place where you are able to activate other agencies on your behalf to do your digital marketing, website, brand, whatever that may be. Our goal is empowerment, right? Is to develop the skill set of the people in this region. This is our team. We are a pretty small, lean, mean team. We work really closely together, as well as with a network of contractors across the province as well. So we have a lot of respect and love for the other people in our industry that do very similar things, like Business Link, and this is why we're doing these webinars. So if you're interested in learning more, here's our website, 910.ca, and you mentioned that already, and we are also on social media as well. So this is our team, and this is kind of how we move through our creative process. So you'll notice here we start with our brand. That's fundamentally kind of where we put our basis. And if you've attended any of our webinars in the past or will in the future, you will hear us talk about brand as a foundation a lot. It's such a important part of how we position ourselves, of how we understand who we are within the market, that's always the place that we start. And then we kind of filter our way through establishing ourselves through design and web and print. Marketing is not all digital. It's a very, very digital heavy industry, especially with the world that we live in today. But there are definitely still a lot of physical print needs for businesses to market themselves effectively. So all the way through to training, which is kind of what we're doing here today, is imparting knowledge so that you have the skill set, the confidence to go and manage all of this in the future as well. So a little bit about our mission and vision. I won't touch on this too much. Amy did a really great job of describing who we are and why we exist, what our mission around the province is, and really just that our vision is that all of you have the skills and are empowered and enabled to do all of this on your own as well. Okay, so first kind of discussion question, what is SEO? SEO is such a big topic. There's so many different things. So Amy, I'd love to hear from you in your years of experience of working with small businesses, entrepreneurs. What are kind of the common themes of what people expect to hear when it comes to SEO? What do they know about SEO?
Yeah, great question, Megan. Certainly there, I think it was Linda on our team that put something in the chat. There can be this mystery shrouded in SEO that, we're not sure exactly what it is, but we know that, and many business owners know that SEO or search engine optimization is the thing that if they get it right, it's going to help you come up in the top spot in search results, whether that be Google or Bing. Yeah, and then I would say in terms of familiarity with some of the techniques and the elements out there, I think a lot of people or some people are familiar with the keyword aspect of SEO and just understanding what keywords are. If not, we're going to cover that and which ones they want to rank higher for. So, for example, in search, Business Link aspires to and wants to rank highly for our branded keyword. When you type Business Link into search, we want to be in that #1 spot. So that would be something we're optimizing our website for.
Yeah, absolutely. Search, like you said, we're kind of shrouded in mystery a lot of the time because it's such a technical endeavor, right? There's so many technical pieces of language and skill sets that are really required for excellent long-term search engine optimization. So fundamentally, SEO is really just kind of where you show up on the search engine results page, exactly like what you were saying, Amy. It's understanding how search engines work and how they match search queries to information on the web, right? The user to the end information, right? That's kind of fundamentally how it works. But that's really split into a lot of different areas. So when we're looking at the search engine results page, it's kind of split up into a few different areas. So we have, and it, of course, is based on search terms, so what people are putting into the search bar. So here we have a location search term, meaning that I am looking for a bakery in Edmonton, Alberta, right? I have a location here. So the first thing that's going to show up is our map, right? We're going to have the Google My Business listings on the Google map here, and it gives me all these little dots for the different bakeries that are in Edmonton, right? And of course, there's more than 3 bakeries, but these ones are the ones that are ranked the highest in Google My Business. Underneath of there, we have our organic search results. So these are not paid for. These are listings on the web that Google has pulled up as being the best match for this search term underneath of the actual map itself. So there's those. Now, if we don't have a location terms or location keyword, and I just wanted to say maybe I wanted to learn baking, now we have a whole bunch of sponsored search listings, right? So these are a whole bunch of different websites that have paid for spots on the Google search results page based on these keywords, learn baking, right? Maybe I was just looking for a YouTube video, but because I typed in those words, these are the listings that come up. So any platform, social media, Google, Bing, they make money through advertising, right? So when you put money into your advertising budget, into your strategy, you're going to naturally be able to rank higher because of that. Organically, on the other side, I'm just gonna go back a little bit here. We're really keying into, okay, how do I land here and here, right? For on a budget, these are the places that we want to show up high. Okay. When we think about what this is broken down into, there's kind of two categories of SEO. There's on-site SEO, which is the things that happen on your website. And then there's off-site SEO, the things that are happening outside of, what you can control. So on-site SEO are going to be things like your headlines, your keywords, all of those extras, your meta description, your alt text, the user experience, how the website was built, how it feels to navigate through that. Is there ease of navigation? Is it slow loading? Those kinds of things. And then there's the technical SEO. Is it an up-to-date, newer site that is secure? That is hugely technical and very much impacts your SEO. Is it mobile optimized? That's a really big one right now as well. Is the content well written? Does it have good SEO optimized content? That's all part of your on-site, the things that you can do actually embedded into your website. The off-site are things like your social media. What's interesting about social media is that it's not technically directly related to SEO, but there is a significant correlation. So if you were to go and say, I have a really great social media presence, so automatically my website is going to rank really high. That's not how that works. The way that search engines and social media platforms kind of talk to each other is through something called positive social signals. So if you have good traffic from your social media page to your website, or if you're getting really good brand mentions on your social media, you're getting tagged a lot, you're getting good engagement, people are sharing your content, those are all considered positive social signals, and that relates back to SEO. So it's kind of an indirect little circle loop that points back to your website, but it does have an impact that way. There's also something in your analytics that you can look at when you're looking at your traffic sources called social traffic. And that is where your website will count all of that traffic and help, again, in your ultimate goal of search engine optimization. Directory listings. So I talked about Google My Business. Google My Business is an example of a directory, right? It lists out all the different places on a map. There's other directory listings, Yellow Pages, Yahoo, Yelp, all of those have directories built into their platforms as well. So directory listings are a really great way to build up your brand mentions and traffic from other places on the web. Backlinks, or you'll also maybe hear the term citations, is where your website is linked on somebody else's website. So this is kind of like a mutually beneficial agreement where you should have other people's websites listed on yours, and other people should have your website listed on theirs. So it's kind of this, I'll scratch my back, you scratch yours, or you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing, where they want to build these good relationships. So if you have there's 1.5 million out there. If you Google like SEO analyzer, you can pop your website in and it'll kind of give you a breakdown. But very often what you'll see is you need more backlinks. And so that means that you need to add more links onto your website, and you need to get your website onto more places. And that can happen through directory listings, your local chamber directory as well. That's a really great resource. Doing guest blog posts, those kinds of things where you get linked there. A lot of realtors or contractors will have recommended, or people that we work with, or resources for people like that. They'll have a directory or a list of different people that they work with regularly in different industries, whether that be contracting, interior design, insurance, legal, that kind of stuff. And that's another opportunity for different industries as well. Somebody asks, please advise, are those directory listings for free or for a fee? It depends. There are paid directory listings out there, but there are also a lot of free ones available as well. Tons available out there. And if you stick around till the end, we actually have a new digital marketing dashboard that we have launched. And part of that dashboard is something called Listing Sync and Citation Builder, where it uses AI tools to automatically build backlinks across the web, as well as update citation listings, or directory listings, sorry, across the web. So that is a huge help. But to your question, there are many, many free options available to you. Yelp, Yahoo, Yellow Pages, all of those are free to use. Google is free to use as well. And there are also paid ones there as well. So you can kind of choose what fits your budget that way. Brand mentions. So we'll get into the next little topic here of how this impacts really your SEO in the long run. But really, brand mentions are when other people are talking about you. That gives you authority and trust within the industry. So that's huge. Amy, any thoughts on this? Anything that you would add to these lists at all?
No, I think these are great. Just like simple, tried, tested, and true information here. I feel like this has kind of been the recipe over the last 10, 15 years. Maybe there's different weightings on some of these elements, but I like how you've organized them, Megan, for on-site and off-site. And I think if someone's going to start at home, start on your own page, because that stuff is really easy to do. And then, yeah, after you feel like your house is in order and you've got all these elements from headlines or meta descriptions, alt text, your UX, your technical SEO wrapped up, then start to branch out and look at the things that you can do externally, that social media piece, partnerships. And I've really loved the time you spent talking about directory listings, like even just thinking about associations, like if you're in construction, what's your, the Alberta Construction Association or Calgary Construction Association, where you can get your website listed on some of these community or industry associations, I think can be really helpful. So yeah, thanks.
Question here as well, would Google reviews fall under brand mentions? Technically, no, they would not fall under brand mentions. Google reviews kind of play an interesting role in how you show up in the actual rankings. So if we go back a little bit here, we can see that reviews kind of sort of play a role in our listings. So this Duchess Bake Shop has 2.7 thousand reviews. So it's showing up really, really high, even though technically it has a lower score than the Hazeldean Bakery. But there's so many more reviews. This is where the Google reviews will make an impact, not necessarily in the organic side of things, because it's not technically a brand mention. It's really more engaging with your Google My Business listing. So this is where it's going to make the most impact. So, all right, let's jump ahead to the EAT framework. So this framework is basically the formula, and there's a lot of other technical math and computer science things that go into the algorithm, but this is kind of foundationally how search engines analyze and rank the material that's on your website. So they match the keyword searches that people are looking for to the material on your website based on this framework. So one is experience. Experience is kind of twofold. The experience that you have as the provider, the person who's providing the information, how much hands-on experience do you have? And then also the experience of the user going through the website itself, right? So the user experience. For the provider, experience is really important to outline because let's say, we have a 20-year veteran within the health industry. They're going to have more weight because of their experience than a very recent graduate, right? Even though technically they might have the same expertise, they might have the same degree, the same certification, they've read the same books, but one has substantially more hands-on experience. So their information is weighted heavier than the other. So it's important to list those little things of, we've been in this industry for 20 years, or we have a combined experience across the team of however many years, because that gives you more authority and weight, right? The expertise is really important because it shows you that you have the technical skills and the technical knowledge that's really important to establishing your authority and trust. So this third one, the authority, this is how people are talking about you, right? This is how important the information is that you're sharing. Vogue has a lot more authority in the industry than a fashion blogger, an indie fashion blogger, right? Because they have so much experience and expertise, and they've built a name for themselves. They have significantly higher brand mentions. So when we're talking about some of the offsite SEO things that play into SEO, it's the brand mentions that leads to our authority and how much weight we have in the industry. All of these combine together to trustworthiness, right? So how much can the information that we are sharing be trusted, right? This has become a really big conversation in the last 5 years of, is the information that's being shared true, and how do we actually check that? How do we as consumers trust what's being shared with us, right? So this plays a huge part in how search engines provide information to you, the consumer. So a couple of questions here in the Q&A. In the meta description, does the order of the keywords make a difference? No, it doesn't, not really. The important thing is that it's both readable for human beings and it's readable for search engines, for the robots, right? So it's important that it makes sense to you as a person reading it. So that's more the important thing than the order of the keywords. So I hope that helps there. How does the experience and expertise relate to an e-commerce site? So that would be how you describe the products, or how you introduce yourself on the e-commerce site, how you write the introduction to the page. You may not be able to put your expertise or your experience right into the product name or description, but you should have a spot on your website that talks about you or gives an introduction to the page or why you're selling these products. So those kinds of things would be where you would add in your experience and expertise. And do customer testimonials play a factor in trust? Absolutely, they do. Most people will go to the reviews and the testimonials to see what people are saying about the business. Your best ambassador is a happy customer because they're the ones that are going to share their experience. So yes, absolutely, it does have an impact in trust. And again, very, very heavily weighted on the Google My Business side. So looking at your Google My Business listing there. All right. The next framework that I want to talk about, let's go back, getting ahead of myself here. There we go. It's called YMYL, and it stands for Your Money, Your Life. This is a newer introduction to the SEO framework, and this was introduced by Google. So the idea behind this is a focus on harm reduction. So again, looking at the focus on, can we trust this information, or how important is this information to share? So it weighs the impact of either having this information or not having this information, right? So the considerations are, health, physical safety, financial stability, happiness, general quality of life, contentedness. So if we think about it like evacuation routes during wildfire season, that's hugely, hugely important to have access to that information. So that information is going to be prioritized and weighted more heavily. Um, Websites that are talking about using really terrible language to describe minority groups or racist terminology, things like that, that can be potentially harmful to have access to that information. So that information is going to be suppressed a little bit further because it's potentially dangerous. So that's how YMYL frames this as, is this information important to have or not have, right? Something that would be considered maybe not important on either side is local news report on the high school band performance, right? That's not particularly important. It's a great little piece of community building information. It's great for that little community, but it's not tied to any of these considerations. So when we think about embedding this into our website content, we want to think about how can we position this so that what I'm writing about falls under one of these topics. An example would be I worked with a lady who ran a wig shop. And one of the things that we were talking about is, well, how do we look at wigs as something that would fall under one of these topics? Well, people who are suffering from chemotherapy and have lost their hair and their kind of self-identity, or people who are struggling with alopecia or other health conditions, right? So these elements we can write about on our website to show how our products and our services fall under some of these things, rather than just talking about 3 ways to care for your wig, right? So that is how we can kind of position ourselves where maybe we wouldn't necessarily be a topic that would fall into these, to give ourselves a little bit more weight. A couple more great questions here. Do these search factors apply internationally? So yes, search engines are international organizations. They focus on a global scale. So all of these factors would apply globally. And of course, if we're thinking about geographical location, it's important to think about your audience. Okay, are you trying to reach people on an international scale? Then we need to start introducing some of those keywords into our website. So how your services can apply to somebody in the States or over in Europe or something like that, right? So really focusing on some of those keywords as well. And then how is expertise determined in SEO? Many companies and service providers self-identify as experts, but may not have the education or authority to identify as such in the industry. That is such a great question. So you'll often see, and safety certifications is such a great example of this. So you'll often see on different service providers, whether it be environmental services, engineering services, construction, whatever, they have a set list of certifications that they lay out at the bottom of their homepage. COR, ISN, there's a bunch of other ones out there that I can't think of off the top of my head, but very commonly well recognized and well respected within the industry. So by saying we are COR certified, we are ISN certified, they are giving themselves that weight. Rather than just saying we are an expert, they have that backing behind them. So when you're thinking about for your own website, wanting to lay out your expertise, give yourself that recognition. I am a certified digital marketing professional, certified from the Digital Marketing Institute. I earned my Bachelor of Arts from the University of Alberta, right? Those kinds of things. That terminology is really important to showcasing your expertise. All right. Okay. I want to make sure that we get through this because I know I'm talking a lot here. But I wanted to touch on Google My Business because it's such an easy way to give yourself a leg up very quickly. SEO is a long process. It is an ongoing process. It is not something that you can do one and be done. But Google My Business is something that can help you give a leg up right away. So Google My Business, you can claim your profile if you haven't already. Google very often will create profiles based on search terms. So if a lot of people are searching for a business, they will automatically create a profile for you. So you don't necessarily have to go through and actually create one yourself. But check that out. Do a quick little Google search of your business name and see. If it's not there, then you'll have to create one. But claiming your profile gives you the ability to customize it, right? And add in keywords and services and hours and customize that way. So it's really important to be able to claim that so you have control over it. A couple of years ago, I was going through 910's Google My Business profile, and I noticed because it's public, the public has access to be able to recommend suggestions. I was just going through and doing a quick little audit, and somebody had listed 910 as a party supply store, which is absolutely not accurate, right? And of course, that's not going to show up unless I approve it as the person who's managing the profile. But it was such an interesting little example of why it's important to claim that, because I actually have control over that, and I'm able to say, well, no, we're not. We don't want to show up under party supply store searches. We're specifically for web, brand, digital marketing, that side of things. Keeping your platform up to date is really important. Like I mentioned before, any platform, any search engine, Google is what we're talking about right now. They make money by people using it by advertising, right? And things like that. By engaging with their in-house platform, right? Because this is the platform that they've built. They've spent a lot of money through research and development to be able to make it what it is. By actively using the platform, updating your hours, making updates on the post section. You can actually make posts on Google My Business, answering questions in the Q&A. All of those things help you rank higher because you are actively showing that you are engaged with the platform itself, and they're going to reward you for that. So that's a really, really helpful area to be keyed into. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's an ongoing thing, but it's not a huge commitment, and it does really make a big difference. And then filling out every section. I don't know how many times I've spoken with people who, well, I claimed my business, but it's still not showing up. Okay, well, did you go through and fill out your description? Did you go through and update your hours? Did you go through and update all of your services? Well, no. That's why you're still not showing up, is because you have to go through and actually complete all of the steps. So it's really important that you go through that consistently and update things regularly. If you introduce a new service offering, add that to your service list. If you have an e-commerce store, add your products to that list as well. Okay, a few more questions here. So Google is rejecting me adding my website to my profile. It only allowed to start indexing yesterday. Would that be the reason? Yes. So your website does need time to index. Basically, that means Google needs time to categorize what's on your website and basically read what is there and categorize that information. So typically it takes about one and a half weeks for Google to be able to do that. I would definitely check back in another couple weeks and see if you're able to add your website to your profile then. Does Google My Business apply to global markets? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So same as before, where we're talking about it being a global platform, it's the same for this. If you cannot find your business category, go to the one that is most closely related. So if you are a boutique retailer, click retail. If you are, specific, you only do wedding hair. You don't want to do regular hair, but you only do wedding hair. The closest would probably be, hairstylist. So unfortunately, it is not 100% perfect. We can't be 100% customized because it's not technically our platform, right? So we do have to fit within those parameters as well. For Google My Business, if you are an online business, what should you add for your hours? You can customize your hours to be 24 hours a day. I would recommend adding in business hours so that people aren't expecting you to respond to them outside of those business hours. That just kind of sets expectations for your audience more than anything else, and it helps kind of build boundaries in your space as well. If there is only, or if there's only online business service based, specific Google location is not preferred to limit to the client base. Can you still use Google My Business? Yes, you can. You would just have to select yourself as a service area business and not a location business. That's actually recently changed in the last 5 years. They used to require a physical location, but they don't anymore. So that's really good. I have worked with people who are a service area business, and that it works quite well for them. How do you create a Google My Business profile if you don't have a physical address and don't want to show your home address? So when you are creating your profile, it will ask for an address. This doesn't mean that it will show that on Google. So you have to put in your mailing address where you would get mail to so that you can verify you exist as a person. But that's not necessarily the thing that's going to show up on Google. Another question, Ute, if you are able to send me an email, because it sounds like we're looking at having a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. So we'll chat a little bit after. I'll pop my contact information at the end of today's session. So shoot me an email and we'll chat more about that. All right. Okay, keywords and search terms. So Amy, you talked a little bit about kind of being the old school in the last 5-10 years, working a lot with kind of the keywords and stuff. What have you learned being, what's one of the most important things about using keywords and search terms and how to identify those?
Yeah, well, I think you have to be honest. And Megan, we were chatting a little bit about this, topic before we started today. There's a term that we want to avoid. It's called keyword stuffing in SEO, and we don't want to be seen as doing that. So when we're thinking about the keywords that we want to put on our website, they need to be honestly the things that our business does. So listing out our services. At Business Link, for instance, we have our digital marketing program. There's certain things that we cover under that, social media marketing, website marketing. We wouldn't want to be putting a whole bunch of other terms or services that we don't cover, or stuffing unrelated keywords onto the page to try to get ourselves to rank for something that isn't really relevant to what the key services are that we offer. So that's something that I feel like, yeah, I've learned and take forward as a best practice. And in terms of like researching these, we've used tools like the Google, I can't remember, Megan, what's the name of it? The Google keyword tool. They have a tool.
Google Trends is what it's called. And then
Okay. Oh, yes. And Google Trends.
yeah, so there's Search Console and Google Trends. Both of them kind of serve slightly different functions, but are both keyword research tools.
Yeah. So both of those have been helpful for keyword planning.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really glad that you brought up keyword stuffing, because something that happens, and we see this in any industry across, is kind of a universal experience. Anytime there's advances in technology, there are creative uses to take advantage of those technological systems, right? And so then there has to be a catch up in kind of best use case scenarios, rules, and regulations around those things. Keywords, SEO is a really great example of that. So as SEO becomes a little bit more of a common understanding, and people are starting to learn a little bit more about search rankings, and these algorithms start kind of taking off, there was something that came into play, keyword stuffing, what Amy was talking about, where people are just jam packing their websites full of irrelevant keywords, meaning that it doesn't match with their services, simply because they want to get as many people onto their website as possible. We now know that that is not the best practice, right? We know that that's not helpful. And in their efforts to provide the most accurate, most reliable information to their customers, search engines like Google have actually dinged that. So if you try doing things like keyword stuffing, where you write an entire paragraph of random keywords and make it the same color as the backgrounds, people can't see it, that gets you dinged and actually suppresses your information. So following those rules does help you in the long run. So just kind of being aware of some of those things is really important. Um, when you start your keyword planning, it's important to think about it in kind of this pyramid of primary, secondary, and tertiary keywords. So our primary keywords are going to be the most important thing. And I'd like you to kind of start thinking about this as you can have a set of keywords for your entire business and a set of keywords for each of your individual service areas as well, because you're going to want to think about these for each of your kind of unique website pages. So a primary keyword, you should have 1 to 2 of these. These are, again, the most important thing. So business link, your most important keyword is your brand keyword, right? For maybe another agency, it would be something different. Our primary keywords are really important that we use our search tools, our term keyword research tools like trends, like Google Search Console, to be able to identify what the most commonly searched terms are and how we can integrate that in. Our primary search terms are going to be embedded in the title or headline of the page itself. So when we're thinking about our primary search terms for our service areas, right? That's going to, or like our website development, digital marketing, those kinds of things, coaching. Those are the primary keywords for those service areas versus, you know, the business itself, business link, as being that primary keyword. So each section should also have secondary keywords. These are kind of the subsections, right? How we would lay out the different areas within our business or the different subsects within that service area. If we're talking about like an electrician, we would have our corporate or our commercial and our residential, right? And then within those, what are some of the breakdowns for keywords that people might be looking for? Our tertiary are going to be kind of more of the long tail keywords. So if somebody is searching for how to install a light switch at home, that would be considered a long tail keyword. And so you're starting to think about, okay, what are some of the most common things that people are looking for in this category? This is a really great way to think about it because it helps break things down rather than just having a massive list of keywords. It helps you identify what the most important areas are that you should be focusing on. If I know that I want my primary keyword to be business link, I should have that in a lot of places on my website. If it doesn't show up, that's a problem, right? So that's where we start to kind of give ourselves a plan to move forward rather than just saying, well, this is my keyword list, now what? Right? So it's really helpful to be able to break it down in this way. But where do you put them? How do you position this? Like, what does this even matter, right? All of this comes back to our brand foundations, right? It's embedded within the communication, how we speak to our audiences. And so if our audiences aren't searching for a particular keyword, there's no point in using it, right? If we want to focus on DIY clients, you know, you're a flooring company maybe, and you want to focus on people who are doing the DIY thing, you're not going to be using a lot of keywords that contractors would maybe be looking for. So that's where we have to think about where maybe they are relevant and maybe they are highly searched for, but are they relevant to our audience? That's the important question, right? So that's how it all kind of ties back to brand, is the relationship between you and your audience and how you communicate with them. So where does this show up on your website? This is where we kind of start blending the technical SEO and your role as maybe not the SEO expert. So there's something called tags, HTML tags, and heading priority. This is really important to understand kind of the jargon, the language in the industry, because otherwise you're not going to be able to be really successful in this. So even if you are hiring an agency to build a new website, but you want to provide your content, how do I lay out my content so that it makes sense and actually shows up right on the page? So under any website builder, you will have something called an HTML tag that assigns priority to a heading. So every page is going to have one H1 heading. This means it is the main priority on the website or on the web page. It's the main heading. It's what the page is about. That's where you would put your primary keyword. Your H2 is going to be a subheading. right? It's going to break down your sections on the page. So that's where we would put our secondary keywords. And then within that, you might have broken down into a few different sections. That's where we would put our H3 headings. So if you want to kind of look at it that way, where it's broken down into the most important versus our secondary and tertiary, second, third, fourth most important things on the page. I was going to pull up the digital marketing program page from Business Link to do a little example, but I don't think we have time to go through it. But definitely take a look at different web pages and see how things are broken down. So if you're writing optimized content and you know that this is the main heading that you want on the page, label it as H1 so that your web developer knows that's the most important piece to go on the website. And when you're looking for an agency to build a website for you, or you're wanting to hire a content writer, these are things that they should be taking into consideration as well. So it's really important. All right. Meta descriptions are, like I had mentioned before, this is really important to be able to optimize where you're showing up on the web page as well, because you control what goes into your meta description. So this is where you would start adding in some more location-based keywords, some keywords, priority keywords from your web page. But it's really important to be able to make it readable for humans as well. Can you leave this blank? Yes, you can. If you leave it blank, search engines will just pull something from the page, and you're going to end up with something like this, where it looks like, according to this, the diet for a cockatiel is pregnant women, children under the age of 5, and senior citizens. That's not what is actually on the page, but because they didn't go through the time to write it out themselves and actually add in those keywords, this is what showed up, right? So this is just it's a fun little example of why it's best practice to add those in yourself. Otherwise, it might look a little funny. And you'll start to notice that as well when you're going through your own searches and trying to find information for yourself, what websites, what web pages have actually added in a meta description for themselves. Alt text is a description for an image, right? So there's kind of two reasons why we would use alt text. It's alternative text. It showed up originally as an accessibility tool. So it is how people who are visually impaired, who have sight reader, this is what gets read out to them as a description for the image. It's also for Google, other search engines, to be able to understand what's in the image itself, because we know robots aren't very good at identifying images, right? They need a little help with text. And so this is how we add that in there. We, again, keep it relevant. You want to actually describe what's in the image, but we can add in some keywords. 910's email marketing funnel breakdown, right? It's a descriptive of what the graphic was, but it has our brand keyword in there, 910, and a keyword for email marketing, right? Because people looking for how to email market. So that's how we can use the keyword functions effectively and keep it relevant to the function itself. All right. User experience. So this is when somebody is going through your website, how user experience impacts the SEO. These are all things that Google and other search engines look at in order to determine whether or not it's a good experience. One is site security and age. This is really important. Websites typically only have a shelf life of about 5 to 7 years because of how fast technology is evolving. So if you ever have gone onto a website and it's really small text, it doesn't flow really well, and things are kind of blocky and chunky, and it doesn't look modern and new and sleek, that's probably because it's an older website, right? And so those sites are typically not held very highly in Google because they are older and typically don't run very well. Site security is another thing, right? We know how bad bot attacks can be. We know that if you click on a random link somewhere, you might get a virus on your computer. Site security is part of that. Is your site protected from those things so that you're not exposing other consumers to that? Optimized load time is part of that. How fast does the site load? Your image size, videos, those kinds of things are all part of that. Making sure your content is easily scannable. So those are where your headings would come into play, right? Can you easily skim through the page and read just the quick headings and find the one that you need and read through that content? Keeping in mind, most people are reading on their phones, are on their mobile devices. And so a chunk of text that might be 1 or 2 lines on a desktop is probably, a paragraph chunk on somebody's phone. So being able to read things quickly and easily require really short paragraphs so that it's easier to read for mobile. Mobile optimization is huge. And then there's also micro interactions. So the little things that happen on a website, little animations, and when you scroll through and a photo pops out at you or something like that, those are called micro interactions. And it does make an impact on how people engage with your website, and it has an impact on SEO. All right. So just a little recap. Our off-page SEO is our social media. So how those positive social signals, how people are interacting with us on social media, backlinks, citations, those kinds of things, making sure you show up on other people's websites as well. Directory listings would be the same thing, adding your content onto other directories, business pages, those kinds of things. And then brand mentions, how much are people talking about you and referring back to your website. So, all right, some key takeaways. Keywords are part of your brand. So it's important for your communication. Your local SEO and Google My Business are highly effective and one of the easiest ways to get a boost on your SEO. SEO will always be an ongoing process and require active management. It's not a one and done thing. And then keep in mind your on and offsite SEO tools. So we have just a few minutes left here before we get into kind of like the end little bit here. Amy, I know you and I had talked a little bit about some questions from the beginning here. Would you like to jump in and ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, definitely. And maybe before I do, I see in the Q&A, there's a couple questions. Some are really specific to people's businesses. So for those, I think maybe we do skip over or do a follow-up, have them contact you, Megan. However, there is one that I think we could answer. One of them was from NEPA, and it was about improving load time on websites, which is a factor for good SEO. So do you want to just talk really quickly about what we can do to improve that?
Yes, absolutely. So load times are impacted by a few different things. So we can look at the actual space that the material on your website takes up. So if you have really high resolution photos, if you're a professional photographer, um, videos that are actually embedded onto the website itself and not, pulled from YouTube or something like that. How many documents you have on your website, how many pages you have on your website, all of those things take up a huge portion of the space on your site and impact your load time. I'm just going to jump back to the key takeaways page while we talk about these things. The other thing that takes up space is the caching of your website. So this is something that you would want to talk to an IT company or your web developer agency to be able to install something called a caching system, so that your kind of memory gets cleared out every 7 days or something like that, so you don't have a whole bunch of irrelevant website backups just kind of sitting there on the back end and taking up space. So that's really what that would do. The other thing is something called bot attacks. So this is why site security is so important, is if you have a lot of bots coming on and attacking your website or attacking your server, those things do slow down the website. So it's really important to have a secure website for those reasons.
Yeah, great tips. Thanks for that, Megan. Actually, another one from NEPA that was relevant on the H1, H2, H3 tags. And the question is just, does each page of the website have those categories?
Yes, every single page, every blog post, every module, every page will have the ability to categorize your headings that way. So yes, every single page should have those categories. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. And then one more that may be relevant to our audience here is question from Robin about comparing custom built websites. And I'm going to throw in that maybe that's WordPress or Webflow versus hosted websites like Squarespace or Wix. Yeah, I know from some past experience, there are differences a little bit in what you can do for SEO in those sites. What's your take?
Um, it really depends on budget, to be honest with you. If you have a really super limited budget, using something like Wix or Squarespace, where you have a little bit more limited function, but it is significantly
Yeah.
cheaper. You can build
Yeah.
really beautiful websites based on the templates that they offer, but it's not really highly customizable. So you're not going to get necessarily the functions that you want out of it. If you were to hire an agency and they would build something on WordPress, WordPress is the leading website builder that most agencies will use right now. You will have significantly more customization. You'll have the ability to really dig deep into a lot of your keywords and the actual setup of the website and fundamentally how that impacts your SEO. So a lot of that technical SEO, those would be better left to those more complex. But again, it comes with a cost, right? So it really depends on
Yeah.
your budget. That being said, again, websites have a shorter lifespan. So if you know that you want to work up to that, start a little bit smaller for right now. And then once you have a little bit of a bigger budget to be able to invest in a more comprehensive website, it will last longer and it will provide you with better results ultimately. But again, it really depends on your budget. Yeah.
Great points. Thanks for that, Megan. One question that um, I've had myself and I've heard from other people, these are great tips about SEO. Let's say that we are checking some of them off. We know how to do our H1, H2 tags. We've got keywords mastered. We've set up successfully our Google business profile. Like, how long does it take for these results to show up? How long does it take for us to move up, in Google rankings or search rankings?
That is such a great question. Very often, what you'll see is if you haven't done anything at all, you might see a little bit of a jump fairly quickly, right? You might, if you claim your Google My Business listing and you do a whole bunch of work on there, you might see a little bit of a jump, but then you might plateau a little bit. Very typically, it can take months to a year to see any really like meaningful results from SEO. It is a long-term commitment. Like I had in here, it is an ongoing active management thing, right? You have to consistently, anytime you update the pictures on your website, add in your alt text. Anytime you add a new service, you're going to want to add a new page with new meta description. You want to consistently update the keywords on your website to reflect what your audience is searching for. So it is very much it is a hands-on process. And it can be really overwhelming, especially for small businesses who, you maybe have one person managing your entire marketing, or maybe you're a solopreneur and you wear all of the hats, right? How on earth are you supposed to manage that? It's by kind of taking it in chunks because it is such an ongoing process. This month, I'm going to optimize 2 pages. Next month, I'm going to optimize 2 more. And then by the end of the year, I'll have optimized my whole site and I can look back and see, okay, I've made this much progress and now I can start over again, right? So it's kind of just trying to take it small bites at a time because yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that. One other question that's come up is like, we'll try and do these things on our own, but let's say we've got a website that's a little bit big, or we're just so focused on the day-to-day operations piece of our business, we just don't have time to ensure and go through the best practices for SEO. If we're going to hire an external agency or somebody to come and help us, what are some of the things that you might want to look for in that contractor or agency that's going to support you?
Absolutely. One of the biggest red flags is somebody who is promising you quick results, quick exorbitant results. I'll say that. So if somebody is saying, "Well, I can promise you're going to get improve your SEO by 200% within the first month," that is not trustworthy. I'm going to be completely honest. Anytime you are working with an agency, particularly with SEO, you should sit down and have a really honest conversation with them. They should understand all of these things that we were just talking about with the how to optimize your on page versus off page and have a plan for your website particularly and have them walk through with you your website and say, okay, how are we going to optimize this? And can you show me specifically where you're getting the data from that shows that I'm, ranking 6th versus, 2nd, right? those kinds of things where they should be able to have a really honest conversation with you about that and really dig deep into, okay, well, this is what the industry standard is. Does this reflect how your audience feels about this service, right? These are common search terms in the industry. Does this reflect your services? So those are kind of some of the flags that I would look for.
Yeah, thanks for that, Megan. We were saying there's no magic wand when it comes to moving up the rankings in Google search or search. You've got to put in the work. I think, Megan, we're out of time for today. There's a couple of interesting questions here from individuals that are a little bit more specific to their business. So I highly encourage you to get in touch with Megan following the webinar. Thank you so much for your time today, Megan. Is there anything that you want to add before we wrap up here?
Yes, I dropped my email address in the chat there. So it is Megan at 910.ca. I would love to have a conversation with any and all of you about what SEO questions you have. I just mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we also have launched a brand new software that is geared towards small, medium businesses, kind of combining a lot of technologies that are very, very expensive. So a lot of SEO tools and managing your keyword research and citations and listings and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, visit our website. You can reach out to me directly as well and book a demo for that platform. But I'll leave that there. And I'm really excited to chat with all of you more.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that, Megan. Really enjoyed all the information that you shared with us today. And also, thank you to everybody else for tuning in and for your really thoughtful comments and questions throughout. We really appreciate it. By all means, feel free to scan that QR code if you want to subscribe to our Business Link newsletter and stay up to date on our resources and upcoming webinars. And this recording today, it will be sent out following the webinar. And we hope to see you soon on the next one. So thank you, everybody, and have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you soon.
Take
Take
care,
care.
everyone.